Jackson Podcast.
What's going on with you guys, man? I hope you're having a great day today. I wanted to react to this video because it's specifically talking about black issues in the country. Officer Tatum, he's a conservative, a Republican, a person that's an advocate for Trump and an advocate for Republican issues. And these individuals who he's conversing with, they're liberals, they're Democrats. They're people that you know, are are still in the structure of the Democratic Party that black folks has been obedient to for I don't know how many years, man. It's just, you know, a long time. And those people haven't been looking out for our best interests. But me, I want to speak about me for a moment. I'm an independent. I feel as if, the more I get closer to God, more closer to just being a spiritual being in general, that I don't like to identify with things. So I remain independent so I can vote or have a perspective of the interests of the whole. I speak to the whole. I don't like separating, dividing. I don't like divided situations. So I want to get into this video, give my perspective and my take on the topics at hand. And I would highly appreciate it if y'all join me in the comment section and we further the discussion about this conversation. Let's go.
The purpose of this debate is for you to come to your own conclusions. You will hear two different sides. You will hear the liberal side of issues, and then you will hear the conservative side. Now, I know we're all here, home base, but be open to what you hear today from responses, the questions. Really embrace what goes forth from this moment forward. Our first question for today. The One Big Beautiful Bill has been signed, and that has made the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act now permanent. Here's the first question. The 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act includes opportunity zones aimed at revitalizing underserved communities. Do you, start with the right, do you believe these policies created meaningful changes in urban black areas, or have they benefited outside investors more than local residents? I'll start with you, Gothics.
To be honest, I don't know much about opportunity zones, so I'm gonna pass this to you.
Well, I think I'll touch on this real quick. I think that the opportunity that it affords to people, no matter what race or color you are, is tax cuts. Tax cuts benefit people who are functioning in the system that we're in capitalism. A lot of people somehow in their mind, they think the tax cuts only affect big corporations and people with a bunch of money. But the last time I checked, black people have corporations and black people have money too. And I think and so just making sure that those tax cuts didn't expire, which if they had expired would cause one of the greatest tax increases of the middle class that we've seen in a while. I think that's one of the things that I like that Donald Trump, at least the Republicans, have passed through that bill and Donald Trump signed into law.
Thank you. Thank you. Responses? Maria?
Opportunity zones are not just tied to tax cuts, they are tied to development. I can speak for my particular demographic in terms of where I'm from in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and Hamilton County, Tennessee. We had our county mayor utilize black census tracts and overdevelop those areas. And in the next 5 years following the original opportunity zones, we actually had a study that we published where our specific Southside districts and zip codes for the city of Chattanooga are some of the fastest gentrified zip codes in the country. So we had a large displacement of African Americans in our city, and we have seen a stark decline of African Americans in these specific areas through development and not just tax cuts.
Thank you. You said no comment, Mr. Reed. Any particular reason why you don't want to comment on that particular question?
Well, number one, I don't comment on things that I don't necessarily know much about. What I can tell you is this, to my sister's point, one of the things that I see as it relates to gentrification, as it relates to redlining and so on and so forth, is the notion of institutional biases and also systemic issues that continue to oppress communities, whether they're black, brown, and or poor white communities, and really uplift the elitists.
You know, I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine yesterday about the time when I participated in street activities. You know, I know this is completely off topic, but it's pertaining to the topic. Uh, you know, it was a era, the crack era, which is one of the eras that destroyed the black community. I feel like drugs destroyed the black community. But I think about the people who was hustling, who was really getting the money. And just like how these people are Democrats and Republicans, we was divided as a people. The unification of a people is more important than ever right now because instead of investing in the community when those houses was $5,000 a piece, $6,000 a piece in the mid 90s and the early 90s, we was competing about who was the cutest, who rims was the freshest, who had the best candy paint, who had the Gucci belt, who was doing this and doing that instead of investing in our communities. It was times I seen brothers and I knew brothers that was making more than one house worth of money per day. And I'm one of those guys, man. And I'm just like, when I look at how the gentrification is evolving, the development and the developers benefiting off of communities that we had a stronghold in, that we could have purchased every house in the community, but we didn't know no better. We was too busy instead of evolving and unifying, competing against each other. I just wanted to say that before I give my take on what was said. So, you know, they was talking about the one big beautiful bill, the tax cuts, and I got a question for y'all because another thing they was talking about was functioning in the system of capitalism. Now, you know, do y'all embrace capitalism or is something that you're totally against? Because I understand that capitalism is a system that if you don't embrace it, then you're hindered. If you don't try to understand it because it's difficult to understand, then it will cause you to be moving and acting and reacting in dysfunction. Is it a healthy system? No. But should you embrace it? I say yes. Everybody want to be operating in feelings, emotions, morals, and integrity. But finances, when I think about the financial structure of America, there's no morals and integrity in capitalism. So if the whole country is moralist and integralist, then you have to operate like that. If you don't want to operate like that, then you have to leave. It's just that simple to me. You know, she spoke about Chattanooga, Tennessee, man. I want to give her some hand claps. Salute to Chattanooga, Tennessee. I'm originally from Knoxville, Tennessee, but she said it was one of the fastest gentrification cities in the country. You know, those tax cuts, it's interesting. And I seen something about Trump wanting to make capital gains tax. He want to do some adjustment in capital gains tax. Now, you know, real estate was his thing. That's where he became a billionaire from, real estate. So people that is involved in real estate and in that market is going to benefit with Trump in office. But the developers is going to benefit. It's not necessarily going to benefit the individual, but the individual can benefit if they make themselves knowledgeable about it. So, what I think about gentrification and embracing capitalism, I feel like gentrification is going to happen regardless because the time that we could have invested, we missed that mark. So, we have to get focused on the now. And they also talked about those tax cuts from that one big beautiful bill can revitalize underserviced communities. It's not going to be for the people that need the service. It's going to be gentrifying it for the people that can afford the community. Let me let them talk, man.
Brandon, go
I
ahead.
just want to add to this. People a lot of times make gentrification out to be this inherently negative thing towards black communities. If corporations or people with money are going into the community to buy property, who are they buying the property from? They're buying the property from black people who own property there that have decided to sell their property at a profit. So it's not necessarily bad that there are corporations or money being interjected into these communities that make the community property value go up, but it also benefits the people that live there to a certain degree. I can see the argument where people are saying that it displaced a lot of black people in certain communities, but listen, it's capitalism. I think that a lot of black people benefit from it as well. If you have money, you have resources, you either sell your resources to make money or you can invest in your own community. Why in the world is it always the case where we're talking about black people or white people that are gentrifying areas? Why don't black people who got money, who have businesses, reinvest in their own communities? We're always looking at white people and blaming them for what they're doing to innovate communities to make money and make them better. Why don't we do that to our own communities?
I'm gonna have to stop him. But he said to a certain degree, so I don't disagree with him. I'm just gonna tell you like this now, because I met my wife in real estate school. We both had passed the test and got licensed, so I'm knowledgeable in this area. This is not a man that's not speaking from experience and knowledge and not knowledgeable about it and investing. It is a good thing, but you won't be able to stay in that area, because if they buy you out of that area, you will be removed from that area. You know, what is more beneficial to you, staying in that area and not obtaining capital, or moving from that area and retaining capital? Why do we have such a stronghold on areas that is not beneficial to us? To be honest with you, though, you might have memories and things that is in this house, in this community, and all of that, though. But how is that servicing you when the finances can service you more? My opinion. Even though it's wrong that those people have the money to be able to purchase you out and move you out. But what is servicing you more, the finances or the location? Because the location is going to continue to go up in value. But do you need the finances so you can be able to do more with it? Because the world is forever evolving. You can't stay in the same place and in the same situation permanently. The world is forever evolving. Let's go, man.
The problem is we don't spend in our own communities. We don't reinvest in our own communities, but yet we complain when others do.
Yeah,
Wait. Before you go ahead, that's the perfect segue into our next question, and it'll start off with you, Mr. Reed. What is the single greatest threat to economic advancement in Black America today? And is it structural, is it cultural, or is it policy driven?
There is no single greatest threat when it comes to black folks.
Okay.
There's no single greatest threat. I think that we have a myriad of issues that we have been inundated by, we have been exacerbated by, and we don't have the luxury of identifying one thing. To your point, to your question, we have a trichotomy by which we have to deal with.
Okay, thank you. Brandon or Gothics?
To be honest, I agree that I don't think it's a singular issue, but I would say that I can trace a lot of the problems economically in the Black community back to having a lack of direction and a lack of identity. And I think within the Black community, people on a cultural level tend to handle their money in ways that aren't actually good for building wealth. And so personally, I think if you have some structure and you have a worldview that points in one singular direction, you're going to see a betterment in the economy, I think.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that by saying that when you look at the single most issue, I think it has to be culture. Because everybody that's honest with themselves know, and I'm not saying every black person, because when I talk about the Black community, I'm not talking about black people as a whole. I'm talking about communities that are predominantly black. Because there's black people all over the country that live in different communities that have a different mindset. But these communities that are primarily black populated, when I was growing up, and I think I can speak for a lot of other people, there was no value placed in credit score. There was no value placed in investments. And a lot of times we were taught that we don't have a place in America, that we are not equal to anyone else. If you go to a bank, you won't get a loan. As if there's this perpetual state of black people being held down by the system to where black people didn't even activate on things that they had the potential to activate on. So most of it is culture, the culture of violence. When I was a police officer, And I patrolled in white neighborhoods, poor neighborhoods, and patrolled in black neighborhoods that were poor. There's a big difference between poor white, poor black. And one of the differences is violence. I do not know of a gang of Crips and Bloods in the white community. I'm just being honest. There's no Crips and Bloods in the white community.
I want to stop him for a minute. My fault, y'all. Let me get my drink. Eating popcorn, that kernel's stuck in my throat. The question was the single greatest be careful with that popcorn, it could take you out. That kernel is something serious. You know, black finances, right? We got to talk about black finances, black structure. To me, I feel like unification is one of the most important things. The lady talked about the lack of direction and the lack of identity. I feel like identity is an issue. I agree with her. And I'm going to get on this guy for a minute because he's going a place that I didn't think he would go, but that popcorn is killing me, that kernel. Identity, we're all not the same. We just got to come to agreement with that. People want to identify with Muslims. They want to identify with Pan-Africanism. People want to identify as FBAs, African Americans, niggas, Crips, Bloods. We are not a monolith. We just got to come to agreements with that. So we have to identify with the people who wants to evolve, who wants to make those sacrifices and evolve and remove themselves from what I'm about to talk about that he said is one of the most important things. And he said it is the culture. He said, if you be honest with yourself, the culture is the main thing that's hindering the black community from evolving. What is the culture? You know, because I've embraced hip hop. I love hip hop. I love real lyricism, real art and creativity. I love artists and a person that's a creative. I just like creativity. But when I think about hip hop, we have to have sectors in hip hop because nowadays we put everything up under hip hop with drill music, with this murder music and trap music and all of this old type of music, and it is a part of the hindrance, but I won't say it's the main thing or it's in totality that the culture, embracing the culture. And he started talking about gangs in the community and stuff though, but you know, it was a point in time where I never heard nobody talk to me about credit. And this ain't to say that it's every black community like this, because I remember talking to my dog Rob from Water God TV. Make sure y'all go check out his channel. And he spoke specifically to me that the black community that he grew up in was totally different from the experience that I had. Because the experience that I had was the poor experience, the welfare experience, the government assistance experience, and the no fathers in the home experience. And in that area of the black community, credit wasn't embraced. Investing wasn't embraced because we ain't had nothing. We felt as if we wasn't equal and we was held down by the system when we could have embraced the system. I still hear people grown today that don't want to embrace capitalism and don't want to embrace the credit structure and the system, and they don't want to be held down by debt when debt is one of your greatest assets that you can use to help you evolve. People don't want to invest. Investing is the way to get rich, not saving, investing. So I understand what he's coming from though, but I don't agree with the culture in totality. The culture plays a part, but it's not the whole thing. Let me let him cook.
When- If you go to Chicago, Illinois, and you looked at the shootings that occurred over the 4th of July weekend, I'm talking 40, 50 people shot, 20 people killed in Philly, drive-by shooting with 15 people, I think, were seriously injured. a few of them killed. You don't see this same type of violence in white neighborhoods. And that is a cultural phenomenon that I think hurts black communities a lot.
Thank you, Brandon. Okay, so I see from Mr. Reed, and then Maria.
Yeah, well, number one, I don't know what neighborhoods that you, former officer Tatum has patrolled in, but where I come from, I know a whole bunch of Crips, I know a whole bunch of Bloods, I know a whole bunch of local high-risk groups that are in white neighborhoods. If you've ever been to Little Rock, Arkansas, if you've ever gone to New Haven, Connecticut, if you've ever gone to places that are outside of Chicago, outside of Philadelphia, outside of Compton, you will see that there is a permeation of a spirit that is trying to kill people everywhere.
Hold on.
Wait. Let me finish my point, my brother.
Okay.
That so there's a spirit that is out to kill people everywhere. That's number one. The second thing is that the folks who actually are in a crowd who actually applauded there not having been gangs in their neighborhood probably don't come from neighborhoods where there actually gangs are. I know very serious risk groups. I know people, young men and women who in effect are involved in gangs. Now, they may not be as organized as the Bloods. They may not be as organized as the Crips. They may not be as organized as the Latin Kings, so on and so forth. But the fact of the matter is that they do exist.
Well, let me.
And I can tell you this because I did 14 years in federal prison, and I was locked up with many of those individuals as well.
You know, he does have a point, but it seems as if he was like, at one point, defending black gangs. I can't defend y'all. I never did, even when I lived in the hood and participated in street activities, the hustle and getting the money and getting fly. One of the things that removed me from that was that I didn't want to be a part of the structured gang stuff. But, you know, I can agree with him because I feel like the Mexicans have a gang, Aryan Nation, me being from Tennessee, I see them white boy gangs, them biker boy gangs. Every culture has some sort of youthful element of organized crime. Tell me I'm lying.
Yeah, thank you. 1 second, Brandon. Maria, you want to add to that? Maria, you want to add to that?
Can you ask the question one more time if you don't mind?
Yes. What is the single greatest threat to economic advancement in Black America today? And is it structural, cultural, or policy-driven?
I think it's all three, but I think if we were to sum it up in terms of the greatest threat to our community, it is ignorance of a lot of things. We have in our own families and in our community dysfunction. We do have institutional barriers that are very real. And at the same time, we have a lot of things that are going on. So like a perfect example in terms of ignorance, TBI statistical data for the state of Tennessee says that the largest violence that happens in our state is sexual violence, and the clearance rate for the Chattanooga Police Department is 8%. What is the lowest number of violence in our community? It's murder. But what is the clearance rate for that? 97%. So if you have a rape, a sexual assault, the statistical likelihood is that nothing is going to happen for you. But if you are murdered, there's a statistical likelihood, especially if you're coming from my community, that you're going to be caught. So I have to say from police data, because that's where I got that from, the TBI, categorizes data for the entire state and every police department in our state. We're not dealing with all forms of violence. We prioritize in our conversations certain types of violence based on the demographic and the people that we're talking about. But you can continue.
All right, please.
Brandon,
thank you.
go
Thank
ahead.
you. I cannot name one white gang.
Hell's Angels.
No, that's like the Crips and the Bloods.
Neo-Nazis marching in Nashville, Tennessee.
Where do you see the murder rate in the neo-Nazi group? I ain't never seen a neo-Nazi a day in my life.
They're marching.
He going back to the gang violence and all of that, but I want to address what she said because that needs to be addressed. You see how fast he didn't even acknowledge what she was talking about. He went back to what he was talking about as if he prioritized that over what she said, even though I feel as if what she said needed to be acknowledged. And he's a police officer. The TBI, for people that isn't from Tennessee or don't know what that means, that is the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. So she said that they don't prioritize certain crimes over other crimes. That is a known fact. That's a known fact. Like you can kill somebody or hurt somebody physically in Tennessee and do 5 years. You try to make some money down there, you might do life. You get caught with a $1,000 piece, they might give you 20 years. You rape somebody down there. I hate I said that word on this thing. I hope I still be able to monetize the show. But you all word somebody down there. They won't even probably look. They probably will not even look out who did it or whatever, or try to find the person if it's not knowledgeable that it was done. But if you hurt somebody, they'll come get you quick off the street. And you might not even be charged. I got a homeboy that got killed by a person who was released from a murder trial. And right when he was released, he went and killed somebody else because they're so lenient on certain charges in Tennessee. Tennessee is a real interesting place when it comes to crime and structure, though. But I wanted to address that because the police prioritizing things over other things is interesting. Because I feel as if it's certain values that should be thought about. And I'm not no person that's standing up and marching for women's rights or against nobody at all. I feel like all wording a woman is almost like killing her, because that's something that she's got to live with spiritually for the rest of her life. So let him get back to what he was saying with gang violence and drill music, because he was saying that he doesn't see, it seems as if he's standing up for the white people.
In Nashville, Tennessee, all the time.
And where's the violence? Who have they killed? Show me a murder statistic of the neo-Nazis. Okay, that's what I thought. Let's talk about the violence in gang. Let's talk about the gang violence. Are we willing to lie about the issue in the black community of gang violence? These young dudes, let's look at the music. You look at rap music. We got a thing called drill music, where young brothers are rapping about murders that they are committing on a day-to-day basis. We see young men dead and lying dead in the middle of the street. Let's talk about the reason why sexual assault and murder is prosecuted at a different rate, or at least arrested at a different rate. Because when you have a dead brother laying right there on the ground, you have a plethora of evidence that you can see with your own eyes. Many times they're shooting people right in front of everybody, at parks, right in front of the club. I mean, so the evidence is there. That's why it's easier to prosecute people when you have a dead body. But sexual assault is stigmatized. Some people get assaulted and they don't want to tell anybody. It's a very different thing. You cannot compare the two. But you got to be disingenuous to say that gang violence and the violence that we experience in black communities are somehow equal to what we see in other communities. It's just not happening.
All right, we're done.
You know, I feel as if this was a great conversation. And, you know, he actually corrected me. I was wrong in my statement. You know, I'm one of those type of individuals that can agree to disagree. I feel as if he addressed the all wording versus the murder. And some people don't want to speak about it and involve the police. And some people do speak about it. But when a murder happens, you have the body right there. So you can create an investigation. It is two totally different things. I agree with that. But that needs to be addressed. I know she's a woman and she's in her feelings about that, and she has the right to be. I can't experience that. You know, men don't experience that, so we can't have emotions and feelings about that. But that is something that needs to be addressed about prioritizing that. You know, right now there's people that want to counsel Officer Tatum because of the things that he said about the Jacksonville police arrest. I'm not into that no more. The people that I disagree with is the people that I want to hear from the most. If I'm agreeing with you all the time, then we really don't got nothing to talk about. The people that I disagree with is the ones that I want to hear from, because I need to know how their mind works. I appreciate y'all tuning in to my show. Let's further this discussion in the comment section below. Real talk, man. Thank y'all. Peace, love, plenty abundance. Make sure you go get you some money, and I'm gone.
The Trevor Jackson Podcast.